aware of farm-raised salmon? Atlantic salmon is most often farm-raised, but look at that beautiful color. Man, that looks like a healthy piece of fish. However, when you flip it over, Atlantic salmon, color added. That color contains something called PCBs, highly cancer-causing, highly toxic. Yes, it is a super toxin. It was banned.
PCB stands for polychlorinated biphenyls. They are in fact a man-made chemical that are associated with a myriad of detrimental health effects when consumed in extremely high concentrations. But luckily, when you analyze farm-raised and wild-caught salmon, the concentration of these PCBs is well below the European Union's uniform maximal level for contaminants in food. The claim of this video is that for some reason, farm-raised salmon has PCBs purposefully added to change the color. And when you see a label that says color added, this means they have, for some reason, added PCBs. At face value, this claim doesn't really make any sense because PCBs essentially have no color. In actuality, the way that farm-raised salmon get their pink color is that the farmers add a pigment called astaxanthin to the feed of their salmon, which gives these salmon the pink hue that you see in the video. This is in fact the exact same way that wild salmon get their color. The only difference is the astaxanthin they are consuming is from their natural diet within the ocean, whereas farmers of the farm-raised fish add astaxanthin to the fish feed, and by law they must list this on the back of the package saying color added. But it is the exact same pigment that allows both of these salmon to have their pink hue, and it really has nothing to do with the addition of any sort of PCBs. In fact, these two things have essentially nothing to do with one another. With that being said, we do have a study looking at the PCB concentrations of wild versus farm-raised salmon, and they in fact found that the concentration of dioxins, dioxin-like PCBs, heavy metals, and other toxins were approximately 3 times higher in wild-caught salmon than farm-raised salmon, indicating that the farm-raised salmon actually have lower levels of PCBs. Therefore, if you're actually concerned about the concentration of these chemicals inside of your fish, farm-raised salmon would actually be the better option. In the grand scheme of things, essentially the only difference between farm-raised salmon and wild-caught salmon is their difference in macronutrients and calories. Wild-caught salmon has more protein and less calories, whereas farm-raised salmon has higher calories, lower protein, and a higher fat content. The ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 is higher in wild-caught salmon, but the absolute concentration of omega-3s is higher in farm-raised salmon per 100 grams. And other than that, there's essentially no difference between wild-caught and farm-raised salmon. Anyone fear-mongering about how farm-raised salmon gets their color likely doesn't understand the process of adding astaxanthin to their feed in order to induce the same pigment that wild-caught salmon have. And people claiming that the concentration of things like PCBs and heavy metals are higher in farm-raised salmon likely have not actually done any fact-checking to see if this hypothesis is actually correct.